This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you!
Boring. Boring. Boring.
Okay, you gotta do it. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel. I'm not telling you. Because you're in no position to dictate that. That's exactly what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're gonna feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Hello, hello, hello. Lembit Öpik here on Lembit Öpik Live on Unprecedented TV. Before I go any further, please subscribe. Go to YouTube, Unprecedented TV. If you can't find it, just put my name in as well. Lembit, Lembit. The more of you subscribe, the more we can do with the station. Well, thank you very much for all of those who have subscribed. It's free for now, and hopefully we'll continue that way for a long time. And we're putting together an arts and culture channel to go with the news and views channel. More of that shortly. And don't forget, we've got Good Morning USA coming up pretty soon, as well as all the regulars, including the wonderful Claire Dyer on Dire Consequences, and Tim Scott Uncancelled with a whole new series. You may have seen his first in the series at the weekend if you're watching this live. Otherwise, do go back to the archive, all on Unprecedented TV on YouTube. Now, you may be watching the news if once again you're watching this live, and the Coalition of the Willing, as it's called. Apparently, this rag bag of countries that think they can help Vladimir Zelensky defeat the might of the Russian army. They've been meeting again. They've been up to their old tricks. But meanwhile, a completely different narrative has been taking place with an American called Witkoff, who represents Donald Trump, talking to Vladimir Putin and his people. Well, it seems that we've got two camps here. We've got Europe, pretty much isolated as far as I can see, and we've got America talking to Russia. Where's Ukraine in all of this? One word: losing. Oh, yes, they haven't done terribly well on the battlefield. And that's tragic because thousands of people are dying every week, most of them Ukrainians, and they're losing land at the same time. So what's going on? Is it the case that America is freezing Europe out of the negotiations? Should they be frozen out? And what prospects of peace? Well, joining me now is the best political commentator I know on the other side of the pond. It's John Fine. John, good to see you. Or should I have said, here's Johnny.
Well, thank you, Lem. It's good to see you too. Glad to be here.
How have you been?
I've been good. I've been fine. I'm always fine.
Yeah, well, you're always fine by definition. Yeah. You're always John Fine. Your name does lend itself to film star prospects in the future. Well, let's get down to it. I know that you're an unabashed Trump supporter. You're from the Republican side, but wherever you stand, it's been quite interesting. All kinds of things happening with the Ukraine situation, and really want to get your perspective on it and your opinions on some of it. First of all, it does seem that we've got a lot of action between America and Russia, though the talks ended in some sort of a stalemate. And it doesn't seem to me that we've got peace from it, but they spent 5 hours talking together. What's your view about the relationship between America and Russia right now?
Well, I mean, I've always believed, because, you know, Trump has always had a good relationship with Putin, and not because Russia promised to support his election or any of those crazy ideals that that extremist party always saying, but only because, you know, Trump's had a good relationship, mostly a lot of it to do with business. Trump was a businessman first, and he had relations with all these countries in trying to conduct his normal day of business. So, and it's a smart business to have good relations with the leaders of those countries, and if you're a good businessman. So, and I think Trump is actually using that relationship that he's had in the past as an advantage now that he's president. And he did a pretty good job with you know, with foreign relations with Russia during his first term. And now he's actually doing worse this time. which is
Doing
amazing.
worse. Why do you think he's
Putin,
doing worse?
yeah, I think he's been. Well, I think it's Putin, and Putin is. I think Putin's got his hardliners on his back, and they're not letting down, and they've got specifics that they must have, and Putin's not going to budge until he gets those specifics. So the key here is for Trump is to find a way to bridge that gap between the specifics that Putin wants and what Lewinsky wants and Ukraine. And honestly, I don't think Ukraine's going to get everything they want. I think it's wound up going to be Russia getting what they want more so, and before this deal is closed. I do think they will close the deal. Don't know when.
You did say Lewinsky. Presumably, you don't think that Monica Lewinsky is the president of Ukraine. That was Freudian,
all the
John.
time, and you know I do. So don't make fun of my way I pronounce Zelensky. Yeah, Zelensky. Okay,
that's a wonderful Freudian slip there.
It's not a name that I care to even want to memorize. Okay, I never liked the man. As far as I'm concerned, he's more like Lewinsky than he is Zelensky. So
yeah, that takes us down a dangerous path.
I think he spends more time under the desk, just like she did. So what can
I
say?
John, I didn't expect you to say that.
I shouldn't have said that.
You get away with it. You get away with it. It's subtle enough. But there we go. So right then, you think that Trump had a good relationship with not with Lewinsky, but with Putin,
right.
And better the first time round. But then they had that meeting. I think this is from actually the Alaska meeting. They seem to be getting on pretty well.
Yeah, they get on pretty well, but when it comes to actually dotting their I's and crossing their T's, that's not happening. So, foreign dignitaries, they always like to put on a good show, and the good show is for press. But what really matters is what happens behind closed doors, and those signatures getting put on those documents, and that's what's not happening. So until that happens, this dog and pony show, it's great. Yeah, it looks good, makes some good headlines, but it's not really producing anything. It's not productive. So, and what is productive is when they're actually chiseling out the bare facts of who gets what and what gets what, and in the agreement, and then that agreement gets signed. So
yeah,
and I think that's when I'll say that there's progress. But like I said, I do believe that Trump will secure this deal. I don't think it's going as well as Trump had planned, and that may have some effect of why he's doing what he's doing, where he's closing out Europe. But I don't think so. From a political scientist perspective, I think Trump is maybe a little isolation where he's trying to assess, and because Trump is very good at assessing, and one of the key factors that any leader learns when they become a leader, a good leader, is to assess the situation. Now, if you got everybody running around with like a chicken with its head cut off, you can't assess the situation. At one point you have to just shut everything down and say, okay, look, everybody, let's sit down and assess. And I think that's what's going on, because it's pretty much what he's been doing here in the United States too. He's been shutting everything down and assessing the situation. And once they get everything assessed, then they can roll out their strategies. And I think it'll all come back once after they figure out what strategy that they want.
Okay. So why do you think okay, what's his strategy? Do you know his strategy?
Well, I think right now his strategy is just to assess the situation. I mean, because it's crazy right now. Everything is kind of half cocked, half crazy. You got half the European nations sitting there saying, no, you shouldn't do this. Some of them saying yes. You got Lewinsky Zelensky doing his thing. And so, sorry.
As opposed to Lewinsky doing that thing.
But
Bill
anyway,
Clinton. But you're
and you got a lot of
Go on.
you got a lot of leaders there. I think, especially those two right next to him. I think that they're just along for the ride, and posing for the political points. I don't really think that they draw anything into anything meaningful into it. I haven't really seen anything produced from either one of them. I'm not going to mention their names, but you know them.
Yeah,
but
this is the
I really
coalition.
hadn't seen anything meaningful really come out of it. I just hear them, basically platitudes. It's about anything that comes out of their mouth, and anybody can cater to political platitudes, But
this is the coalition of the willing, John. This coalition of the willing, which I haven't had any faith in from the beginning. It's just words. Keir Starmer, in a desperate and failing effort to find international relevance, tried to get all these leaders together, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything. And not least because they've been completely cut out. They're frozen out of the negotiations, in my view at least, by the Americans.
Right. I mean, well, your actions speak louder than words. And right now I see a lot of words and no action. So, we need another prime minister like Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was action and words and action. Actually, he was less words than he was action, but he was a beautiful, believe it or not, he was a great communicator, but he was also action behind the scenes. Even though he didn't get credit for a lot of it, he was behind the scenes trying to get things done. I mean, like sending all them boats over there to save the soldiers. I mean, that was ingenious. That was absolutely ingenious, and it worked. And
but there is action.
All the British soldiers. So, but that's action.
But there is action. Right, here's a picture of your American man, Witkoff, representing Donald Trump, speaking to Vladimir Putin. That looks like action to me. I mean, that's not exactly nothing, is it?
Well, I've been in a lot of those roundtable discussions in my life, Lambert. I can tell you, most of them were just dog and ponying for show. They didn't really produce anything. The action is what happens afterwards. Now you will see here in the United States the action. Like the Secretary of War, the Secretary of State, and whatnot. You hear them say things on television, but at the same time, you see them go out amongst the American people, amongst the military, and produce actionable results.
Yeah, but they have to talk. They're sitting there in Moscow. There's some top brass from America talking to the top brass in Russia. Now, I actually find that encouraging, John.
Well, it is. It is encouraging if on them little pads of paper that they got right there, they actually put some actionable results that can translate into a treaty, or I guess in this case it would be a treaty. So yes, I think it's great that they're talking. I just wish they've been talking for a while. I just wish they'd stop talking and start signing some treaties and get this thing over with, because it's been going on far too long, and too many innocent people over in Ukraine are dying, for nothing. So, and in Russia too. Russia's getting hit by. They've got people getting hit and whatnot. So, and that don't need to happen. I'm not for war in any situation. I've never been a warmonger, and I can't believe that that it's year 2025 and that we still got countries that even think that war is a viable option, because we're supposed to be better than that. Human beings should be better than that, and here we are still got some countries participating in war, and it's just, to me, it just seems it's like they're still in the Stone Age as far as I'm concerned.
Well, We'll come back to this in just a minute. You're watching me, Lembit Öpik, here on Unprecedented TV with John Fine over in the United States of America, political commentator, asking if the United States is freezing Europe out of the peace talks in Ukraine. And John, uncharacteristically, I think, is a bit more pessimistic than I would have expected. Witkoff, who's one of the big guys from Washington representing Donald Trump, has met Vladimir Putin. There were smiles, 5 hours of talks, but apparently they didn't get very far. Anyway, we'll come back to that in a minute. After the break, I want to talk about that coalition of the willing and the very strange Mark Rutte. I think he's a strange fellow. What's going on there? What are they playing at? Well, we'll find out in just a minute. Before then, Tim Scott Uncancelled is alive and well and producing some great shows. Do watch this. As Tim Scott Uncancelled usually goes out on a Saturday morning, but you can find it all in the archive. Do please subscribe to Unprecedented TV on YouTube. What that noise? What are you doing, John? What's all that noise in the background? Why are you staring at your grand piano?
Well, you know, I wanted to see if anybody was playing it.
Yeah, playing me like a fiddle.
It was that music you played before we come back on the air. I was like, man, they must be on my piano.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people seem to live in your front room, but that's another story. Right, let's get back to the game in hand. There, Witkoff has been.
You're funny.
Witkoff has been in Moscow. Meanwhile, the Coalition of the Willing, they've been meeting. Some call them Coalition of the Witless. A bunch of people there, German and Premier, a whole bunch of other people. And the anonymity, in my view, which is Keir Starmer, who tried to put all this together. This was back in May. They took that photograph. Nothing's really happened as a result of this. Ukraine's still losing ground and people, rather tragically. Meanwhile, Russia is losing people too, but gaining ground. Now, just a quick one. That's the triumvirate. Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron, Volodymyr Zelensky, three of the people I respect the least in politics at the moment.
It kind of reminds me of the Three Stooges. I'm waiting for them to start poking each other on the ear and stuff and tapping their heads and, oh, what are you, boy?
Well, I have to say I tend to agree with you. And we saw this strange sort of attempt at popularity, as far as I could see, with Emmanuel Macron, Volodymyr Zelensky, who spends tons of time flying around trying to meet these heads of state. He was recently in Ireland as well. I don't see why. I mean, Emmanuel Macron's desperately unpopular in France, and I'm surprised that Zelensky's popular in Ukraine. I'm not sure what the real popularity ratings are, but he's hanging around with all the people I think are the worst politicians in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, he seems kind of
what? He seems kind of what? What are you thinking, John?
Show.
Yeah, I think it is. I think he's going around just.
I mean, I look at him and I see somebody that likes to put on a great show, but doesn't like to produce. And you know, that's something. You know, Trump. You can't say that about Trump. Trump not only puts on a great show, but he'll wind up pissing everybody off at the same time and produce a lot at the same time. So, you know, because you cannot, and Trump say bad press is good press as far as I'm concerned. He don't care. I mean, if you say, well, he shouldn't do this, he'll come down on it. He'll do it 3 times more.
That is the iconic, that is the iconic picture when he was shot. That, I think, is one of the pictures that won him the presidential election, because he was hard as nails. An assassination attempt within 2 centimeters of killing him.
It's actually a really good picture you captured there.
Yeah, I took it myself, actually, there, John.
Yeah. I mean, because I've seen that picture and other people have posted, but not as good as that one right there.
It's a great shot, absolutely iconic. absolutely incredible, really. But anyway, that's Donald Trump. Meanwhile, I don't know if you know a guy called Mark Rutte. He's head of NATO. Very strange character, in my view. He goes around telling people what to think and say, and has all these press conferences and so on. I just don't trust him. He's just really strange kind of fellow, and it's probably going to come up in a minute. And Mark Rutte, he just, I don't know. There's something about him which just isn't right. He doesn't seem to. I don't think he really respects peace. He's always telling everybody to carry on with the war, to do all this stuff, to I don't know, essentially to give them 5% of gross domestic product for war. I think the opposite. This guy Mark Rutte, I don't think he's got any children, so he can't send them to the front line. If people like him had to send their children to the front line, John, I bet you they'd think twice about it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll never agree that war is a viable solution for humankind, especially now as advanced as we've become, and the way our future is advancing. Why are we still messing around with stuff like that? And it doesn't help us as a human species to sit and bicker over land and other stuff and politics and honestly, this political arena that you see today is not. And I'm saying this as a political scientist that have studied the philosophy of political science. This is not the way it was supposed to be. This is not this circus that people call politics today. Is not how politics was originally designed to be. Originally it was designed to be stewardship and responsibility and things like this, and collaboration and response. I already say responsibility, but stuff like these things, and you don't see a lot of that in today's politics. It's like division and hate, and
this guy here, he just doesn't come across to me as a heavyweight. Mark Rutte, he always gives me the creeps. There's something about him talking about using lethal force to make everything safer. No, that's an arms race. I think that's terrible. And also that he wants 1/20th, £1 in every 20 spent on war. If we disarmed, we'd be better off. I just have to say, I find his thinking completely upside down. And also, he's overseeing an organization called NATO, which has absolutely continuously tried to expand and encircle Russia. Well, if I was Russia, I'd get fed up with it, especially because of all the broken promises. There's a promise from a guy called James Baker from 1990 who said not one inch to the east for NATO. And now they're trying to get Ukraine to join.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it was just weird because Ukraine has kept repeatedly said that they wouldn't join. Yeah. And also America made a promise that they would never cross that line. And here we are trying to do just that. Well, I'm not sure if the Trump administration is trying to do that. I think they might probably try to pull that line back. I know the Biden administration definitely was trying to sell that animal, trying to get because we've seen the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton get up there and tell everybody, that yes, we want Ukraine to become a NATO country, but that was wrong. That was wrong, but I can't remember whose presidency it was. I think it might have been Carter or.
It was 1990. 1990, James Baker said, not 1 inch to the east. That's an exact quote. And what he meant was NATO would not move 1 inch to the east if Mikhail Gorbachev dismantled the Soviet Union. I met Mikhail Gorbachev, actually.
And Baker was under who was Baker under?
You're American. You tell me. Who was your president in 1990?
Was it Clinton? Was Baker under Clinton? I don't know, man. I'm 62 years old. You expect me to remember stuff like that?
Oh, well, get my people to look it up. Just in terms of the comment, though, James Baker said it. it was a broken promise, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, and I think that's wrong on our part. I think it's wrong for those up in Washington to even consider doing something like this after we gave that promise. And that's one of the biggest arguments that Russia's been uh, pushing, is because y'all made us a promise and we expect you to keep it. So, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. What and a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's Putin trying to take over and bring back the USSR." No, it's not. It's trying to uphold a promise that was made years and years ago. And Russia has every reason to not want the Ukraine to not be a NATO country, because that would position a NATO country too close to their borders, and Russia would lose some of their advantage, if you will.
It was George. It was George Bush Senior. I think it was George Bush Senior, who was the president at the time, and we got James Baker. I think. Can we put him up? There he is. There's James Baker. Not 1 inch to the east, he said. Well, that's been coach and horses situation there. This guy, I don't really know much about him, to be honest with you, but it's just it seems to me fairly clear. If you say not 1 inch to the east, you'd expect NATO wouldn't go 1 inch to the east, but instead they're going to Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, all kinds of countries. They're sniffing around Ukraine, all kinds of countries that weren't in NATO before that are in NATO now. And if I was Russia, I'd probably feel encircled. Not about the right time. I would feel that NATO is breaking its promises and trying to suffocate me, to isolate me, to shut me down.
Yeah, and like there's a bigger strategy behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what worries me. I haven't got very much time left, but let's think about this then. What do you think is the end game in all of this? The fighting is desperate in Ukraine. There's all kinds of nasty, horrible violence there, and it's killing mainly combatants. Some civilians get killed. I'm actually surprised by how few civilians get killed, and these are mean pieces of equipment that when they fire off, it's horrendous, really. So what do you think will happen? What do you think the end game will be here?
Well, I think it's interesting looking at that gear right there. That a lot of that's American-made kind of products, but the end game is simple. They're either going to run out of people to shoot all these weapons from, because eventually you're going to have to, all the killing going on, and neither side is doing any good. If Russia decided to put the full force of their military on Ukraine, they could probably wipe it out, but Russia would lose a lot of political points globally if they did something like that, and probably get accused of war crimes and what have you. Mm-hmm. But it might come to that. Russia may finally just get totally fed up and just turn Ukraine into a parking lot. But that's a possibility. But honestly, I do believe that Donald Trump's going to pull this one in the bag, and he's going to get Russia and Ukraine to an agreement that they're both going to agree to. I don't think that Ukraine will get as much as what they want, and I think it'll favor Russia more than it'll favor Ukraine in the agreement. And I do believe they will close the deal, and it's a win for everybody if they did close this deal. So. That's what I think.
Just the sad thing, of course, is that thousands are dying every week. Warren Thornton, a regular contributor here on Unprecedented TV, estimates that for every one Russian that's killed, 18 Ukrainians are killed. And he thinks, go on.
And you said not civilians, but see, the problem with that is that Ukraine currently has sort of like a draft going on. So, and they're just pulling their civilians out of the population and putting them out there on the battlefield, from what I heard. So there is civilians dying. They're soldiers, but they wasn't soldiers like a week ago or whatever. And so, that's like the United States during the Vietnam War. They enacted the draft, and our soldiers were dying by the thousands during that war. And and they were soldiers when they died, but they wasn't soldiers a week before before they left out of there.
Yeah, well, we've seen some gruesome videos, mainly on Warren Thornton's show, where people are just walking down the street and being bundled into vans, given 2 weeks training, sent to the front line, and some of them dying 4 hours later. It's terrible. One other area, corruption is rearing its ugly head big time in Ukraine. Ukraine's got a terrible reputation for corruption anyway, but most recently there's this $100 million deal, which seems to have been a corrupt one, from people really close to Volodymyr Zelensky, not near Monica Lewinsky, Volodymyr Zelensky. And it's actually beginning to harm them. First weapons cancellation amid Zelensky corruption saga is one of the titles. The guy on the left, how I had to resign. That was Zelensky's number 2, I think. And time again, you hear these stories that they're actually crooked. And why would we be giving money to such a broken state that then goes on to sell these arms around the world, allegedly?
I don't know. I mean, I never agreed with giving aid to Ukraine. I never thought we should have got involved in that in the first place. It didn't become a humanitarian crisis until we got involved, and Europe. So before then, they were actually solving it on their own. And would have solved it on their own if Europe and U.S. had just stayed out of it. But corruption runs high in just about anywhere you go, especially here in the United States. And so it doesn't surprise me that that there's corruption there in Ukraine. Like here in the United States, the Trump administration is coming down hard on corruption, and that's a great thing. And as long as we can have an administration after Trump that continues that process and doesn't allow a corrupt administration to take over, then we can set up, because it's going to take at least 2 full administrations to set that non-corrupt policies into stone where they can't be touched. But you saw this in Mexico. Mexico was big time corrupt at one time, and then the United States come down on them hard because of the corruption, and eventually I'm sure there's still some corruption, but it's not as bad as it used to be. So Venezuela, other countries, you see this, and it just seems to be a thing. You got people of the dark and people of the light, and the people of the light like to do things the right way, and the people of the dark like to do things the bad way, and the bad way, of course, involves corruption. So it's an ever-going battle.
Yeah, I've been pretty sure that Donald Trump doesn't want to give money to people he thinks is crooked, are crooked. No, well, I don't think there's a good relationship between Trump and Zelensky. I think Trump just doesn't rate Zelensky, nor do I. And he's apparently using very strong language and throwing maps on the floor the last time Zelensky was in America.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's body language has made it pretty clear he don't respect
Zelensky
at all.
You'll get there in the end. Call yourself a political commentator. You Americans really are isolated. Have you got a passport?
Hey, he still reminds me of Lewinsky. I'm sorry. He'll always remind me of her.
Very, very strange. Very strange analogy. That says more about you than about them. So finishing off then, John, do you think that Donald Trump, you implied it, but let's get explicit. Do you think Donald Trump will get a peace deal with Russia?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
What about Europe? Do they have any role?
I don't think so. I think they're just going to be along for the ride. They're what do they call it?
Passengers.
They're free riding.
Free riding. Okay. Yeah. As for Zelensky, does he have a future once this is over?
No, I don't think so. I think Zelensky is. I think he's going to lose his role as the president, and how that happens, I don't know. Personally, I think it'll be some form of. And I don't know if I can say this, but I think it'll be some form of assassination.
Really, that's pretty heavy words. I thought he'd
Yeah, I don't think. I think his
away.
days are numbered. I think his days are numbered, and especially because he's gonna. I think in this deal, when they do make it, that he's going to lose all ground, and then that's politically that's going to destroy him. So I think Putin's playing the long game. I think Zelensky is playing the short game, and the short game is going to turn out not to be the one to play. So, and I think Trump's playing the long game too. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
I can tell you, maybe it's not symbolic, but while we've been talking, you've been drifting more and more to one side of the screen. You were in the middle, and now you're one side.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
I'm sorry.
Maybe it's a hidden message.
My chair's moving on me here.
No, I think you're sending a message of some sort to the world. Very, very strange. But thank you so much, John. You've got a podcast starting as well, haven't you?
Hopefully, yes. I'm starting the groundwork for trying to start it up, and it's going to be called The Third Horizon. And it's going to be something different. It's not going to be. It's going to have a deeper meaning to it than what people are used to. I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, well, there's a home for you here as well. If you feel it's good enough, or put it out on Unprecedented TV. John, thanks very much. That's John Fine, US political commentator for Unprecedented TV in the United States of America. Let me add a couple of thoughts before we finish. I think that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are the only two people in the game. I think Zelensky is irrelevant. He's shown himself to be a war loser. There's no way to turn that around. The Europeans are utterly naive and talk total rubbish. There's no chance of Ukraine gaining all that ground back. This can't be done. And most importantly of all, it seems to me that we're now in a situation where probably we've actually got a serious chance of peace. But Vladimir Putin knows the longer this goes on, the more ground he'll get. Yeah, he's losing men and women, I suppose. And so is Ukraine. But all of the momentum is with Russia. So they're not in a hurry. I've said this many times, and Warren Thornton on his show says it as well. They've only got three demands: denazification of Ukraine, which should be easy to agree to, because either it's not Nazified or it is and has to be stopped. Secondly, a non-NATO membership, no NATO membership for Ukraine, which would be keeping the promise that James Baker made 35 years ago. And then the third one is not have a large military in Ukraine, because they don't want to be threatened by Ukraine either. Those seem reasonable to me. And when the mainstream media moans about these things, oh, they're not compromising. They compromised by not starting the war till a few years ago, even though all the signs were there a decade ago that this was going to happen. That's my opinion. You're welcome to have yours. Do go into the chat. You'll find us on X as well, at Lembit Öpik. Do please follow me and subscribe to Unprecedented TV on YouTube. I really would be grateful if you could do that. I'm Lembit Öpik, and please do enjoy the other shows here on our station as well. And if you've got ideas, then let us know. We're always open to creative suggestions. This is Unprecedented TV. Big thanks to the team. More than anything, thanks to John Fine and to you for having the courage to think for yourself. That's what free speech is all about. See you soon.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.